We're now joined live via Zoom by Colonel Retired Miri, Senior Fellow of the International Institute for Counterterrorism at Reichman University. Good evening, and thank you for being here. Obviously, a lot going on. This attack, apparently assassination attempt on the Prime Minister. The fact that it actually got so close is quite concerning. What do you make of all of this?
Hezbollah has a lot of capabilities, Emily, and in this case, I actually don't agree with the Minister of Defense right now, who's at the stage of talking about us not just degrading them, but destroying them. Hezbollah started out before this conflict with the idea that they would literally be able to conquer the Galilee. They had a plan that was very well known that they presented called Operation Liberation of the Galilee. And the type of drone that you're seeing right now on the screen together with the Israeli helicopter are different munitions and capabilities, projectiles that have been supplied by the Islamic regime of Iran pretty much for the last 15 years. So they've accumulated an enormous amount of a lot of different types of weaponry. And some of them are the type that we can see right now, the UAVs. UAVs are a challenge anywhere in warfare. When you're talking about a terror army like Hezbollah, just makes it that much complex because they hold all of this type of weaponry inside towns, inside villages, inside the urban communities, and make it very, very difficult to be able to prevent it before it arrives. So there's no question right now that Hezbollah, they want what I'm going to call a win. And Emily, for them, it's enough to do something like this. And look, everybody's talking about the fact that they targeted the Prime Minister's residence. But we need to be aware that at the end, we are defending, deterring, and stopping the bulk of Hezbollah's capabilities.
All right, thank you, Miri. We'll be back with you in a moment. So we just heard this report. Now, obviously, everybody bracing for how Israel is going to respond. I guess first from a psychological, mental component is the fact that Israel hasn't done anything yet kind of, meant to make people in Iran and the leaders there even more on edge, or is it really a matter of coming up with the right strategy?
We're in the middle of all of the Israeli Jewish holidays. I mean, Emily, you and I both we went through the New Year. We went through the Day of Atonement. We are in the feast. I don't remember what it's called.
Tabernacles,
Tabernacles. And I say that these two are also part of the aspects of what impacts us. Having said all of that, when you do an either overt or covert retaliation attack against Iran on their soil, there are different ways to do so. You can practice. You can make sure that you're ready. And you can choose the time to do so. So not having done that until now only means that we have chosen not to do it until now. In my own mind, I don't have a doubt that we will do so, but I'm going to question if it's going to be overt or it could be something covert, perhaps not something that we're all thinking about right now. So the tension is there that adds into the deterrence. And as we're speaking, just on a day like today, like Rob was saying before, Hezbollah, that Iranian Islamic regime proxy with all of the different types of capabilities, rockets, missiles, mortars, and UAVs and suicide drones, continues to attack Israel every single day. So we are both attacking that proxy inside Lebanon in the different places where they're entrenched, and also preparing for whatever we want to do. It doesn't contradict. It's as if, wow, we have to do it now. I'm like, we can choose what we do and when we do so.
Right. So the Prime Minister, said to have a meeting with the security cabinet tonight at 7:30. I mean, I can't imagine being a fly on the wall in that room and trying to come up with a reaction. I mean, how do you even come up with an agreed upon retaliation when there's so many options?
When you're talking about a direct attack, first of all, I want to be clear that actually nobody has taken responsibility, which is a very odd aspect within our Middle East that we live in. Emily, here, everybody takes responsibility. Yeah. They take responsibility for things they haven't done.
Yeah, exactly.
Iran announced that it wasn't them. And Hezbollah has not said that it is them. So most definitely doing something like this of targeting the Prime Minister's residence, which is a known public residence where he's lived for many years. Everybody knows it. There have been protests there in 2023 and now. At the end, it's a democracy with protests. To attack it with a drone, in this case, these are all different types of suicide UAVs, is making a very clear statement. And suddenly, Iran doesn't want to take responsibility. Suddenly, Hezbollah doesn't want to take responsibility. capability. Emily, to me, that shows our deterrence or the return thereof of our deterrence. It shows that they are both worried and hesitant about what was done and what Israel will do in response. And to me, that is good news. I think that the Islamic regime of Iran, certainly the proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas and the different Shiite forces should all feel hunted, hounded, and not be, you know, the ones that, as we're showing all of these waving arms, they should start thinking about what they're calling for.
Also, let's talk about one of the Hezbollah deputy leader, Naim Qassem, apparently fleeing Lebanon and finding safe haven in Tehran. Tell us about him, what we know.
So Naim Qassem is he was actually a very public Hezbollah figure all of the years. He was a talker, as I'll call it, meaning he did a lot of media appearances. I'm going to be rude and say he has a very annoying voice in Arabic. And this is contrary to his big boss, Hassan Nasrallah, who was an orator. And Naim Qassem is the one who kind of stepped in. He isn't the official new replacement because that's something that the council, the shura of Hezbollah has to choose, but he's been the filler in. He's already given 3 different sermons after Hassan Nasrallah died. One of them was really, really bad, and then another one was just bad, and the third one was meaning when he's giving something, he's supposed to be the ideological one. He's supposed to make you want to go and fight, and he doesn't do so. The fact that in Iran, and again, we haven't gotten confirmation of this, we haven't seen him in Iran yet, but if this is true, that goes to show how much Hezbollah is feeling now under pressure. But Emily, even more important, look at that knot, at that connection between the Islamic regime of Iran and the person who is considered to be now the #1 in Hezbollah. When he feels unsafe, he runs away to the Islamic regime of Iran. Iran should not be a safe haven. And we all know that on July 31st, Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of Hamas, could not find a safe haven in Iran. No terrorist should ever find a safe haven.
Right. All right. Thank you very much. We'll be back with you again in a moment. You just, heard that report. Obviously, no surprise that here, while he's telling all of his operatives, use your family as human shields, he's not willing to do the same. What does that say about, being a leader, but yet taking that approach?
Not only using his family, using the hostages, that proximity of the 6 Israelis, including American citizen. I mean, that includes Hirsch, that because Hirsch has kind of like become our own household name, that those 6 were held in an area so nearby. I have to make the assumption that that was part of the cadre of hostages that were near him to keep him safe. And when it wasn't going to keep him safe, you realize that this means that he, Yahya Sinwar, preferred to execute those 6 human beings rather than, and it wasn't about his being caught, but rather than allow them to be able to come out alive. And that goes to show who the person is, who the person was, when we show it inside the tunnel itself in its own way. And I don't like being dramatic about it, but to me, for a year, he lived as a rat underground, and he died as a rat above ground. And he is at the source of so much of what happened in the last year. Having said all of that, Emily, Hamas is not just Yahya Sinwar. It is a movement and an organization that's been for over 35 years, and it still calls for the destruction of Israel. And the person who was immediately stepping into as if his shoes outside of the Gaza Strip immediately reiterated the call for the annihilation of Israel, for the destruction and conquest of all of Israel, as they'll say Palestine, including Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa, and that they would never release any of the hostages. So we're talking about a man who led an organization that sadly, they all seem to act and talk in a very similar way.
All right. Thank you very much, Miri Eisen. Always appreciated.
Thank you so much, Emily.